Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back, those of you who joined me in 2021, which I think that's most of you. I am excited to be here with you guys and to be making videos here on YouTube. I always want to remember to say thank you, because if it wasn't for y'all wanting to tune in and listen to me ramble about stuff, then I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you so much for tuning in and for watching my content. Let's get into this video. So if you saw the title, you know that I'm going to be talking about one of my little tricks that I use to help me sort of understand and navigate the energy of a new year. And that trick is numerology. Okay, I know what you're thinking, especially those of you who have watched any of my other like astrology type content before. I've got a couple videos about that. And I did even toy around with starting a second channel. But basically what I figured was I didn't know enough about it, and I should just kind of talk about it as I go along when I find out stuff, or I think something might be an interesting component and I want to throw it in there. But numerology is actually super easy to understand, and that's why I enjoy using it, like just as a gauge for how a year is going to go, because it's really easy to understand and it's actually never, ever been wrong. So let me explain what it is. Numerology is the study of the energy of numbers. We can go back to many different ancient societies and you'll find that there's different lore or beliefs about certain numbers. You can read books and you can read novels and poems, and you'll find, there's certain numbers that always appear that we attach certain meaning to, like 3, 7, 9, so on and so forth. Numerology is basically that. However, the difference is that numerology applies the energy of numbers to your personal life. So there are 9 numbers that we look at in numerology, the numbers 1 through 9, and each number has a specific energy, and those numbers interact with you and your life in different ways. You have what is called a life path number, and you have a personal year number. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, is just the personal year. But the energy of the numbers is the same, whether you're talking about it with your life path or your personal year. Let's talk about it with life path. So like I said, each number in numerology, 1 through 9, has a specific energy to it. The number 1 is the energy of new beginnings, starting things, being a leader, going out, taking charge. When you talk about people that have a life path 1, you talk about people that are natural leaders, people that do things first. What I notice with 1s is that they tend to move through things very seamlessly, and they tend to sometimes have a very short fuse if people aren't learning it as fast as them or moving as fast as them. I notice that things come to them very easily. They're also the ones who tend to get things started. And those are the 1s. And so if your life path is a 1, you will probably have some of those characteristics. Okay, so now you have a number 2. And in numerology, 2 is basically a very gentle number. It's the number of cooperation. It is the number of taking your time. It's the number of patience. It's the number of, sort of silently and very intentionally collecting resources. People with a life path 2 are going to be people that thrive in really intimate, specific, personal and professional relationships. And they're going to be people that tend to have an air of diplomacy about them. Okay, the next number is the number 3. In numerology, 3s are your socialites. They are your creatives. They are your busybodies. A lot of celebrities, actors and actresses will have a life path 3. Also, what I find interesting is a lot of times we as a collective get dating advice and how to socialize advice from 3s. And what I think is so interesting about that is what a lot of people don't take into context is that everybody's going to attract different energy based on who they are. And so 3s are naturally going to attract more opportunities. I was watching this TikTok the other day where this girl was going through her roster of guys and how she had to sign NDAs because they were, she's incredible, the amount of people she's been able to date and deal with. And so of course, I'm nosy. I went all into her Instagram and I figured out, she was a life path 3. Very sociable people. It's very easy for them to make social contacts. So if you're a life path 3, that probably really easily describes you.
Really quickly, what I mean by that little point there, because I didn't expand on it, I don't feel enough in the video here, is that whenever you're getting dating advice or life advice for somebody, I always like want to check their credentials, which is probably why I got into a lot of this stuff anyway. And it doesn't even have to be this, like, what was your upbringing like? Who are you hanging around? What's your social life? Like, everybody's experience is going to shape their perspective. And so when I brought up number threes and how they give dating advice, it's like, of course you're going to say things like build a roster, go on as many dates as you can, because you're going to get a lot of these opportunities very naturally because it's just your vibe. That's just what flows to you. And I don't think the same things flow to everybody. Like, where positions of authority or situations where people need something built fast might flow to me, that might not happen to somebody else. And you can believe, the reasons why based on whatever you want to base it on. I choose to base it on various things, but I'm just saying, whenever you're listening to somebody getting advice or whatever, check their experience first, because that's going to shape their perspective, and make sure that their experience is valid for your life before you buy into it and let it either invalidate you or validate your choices or what you're personally going through. That's what I meant.
Okay, next up we have Life Path 4. So this is me. I am a 4. Fours are known for rules, structure. We are the builders and the backbones of society. 4 also gets, and rightfully so, a bad name in numerology because it's the number of obstacles. It's hard work. It's an isolated number and life path. So I remember finding this out about myself and being like, oh, okay. A lot of the things that I'd been told about myself, specifically where it was related to like astrology, I was like, I don't know. Some stuff I really, really agree with, obviously, but some stuff I'm like for example, I'm a Pisces, and we get rap for being very wishy-washy and I don't care, and especially they talk about us like in a workplace. Pisces just go with the flow. They don't have to be the boss. I am so bossy. Oh my God. That's why I think I'm thankful that I worked with kids for a long time, because kids are like, okay, yes, we're listening to you. But I go back in time and think about how I used to try and talk to adults. This is when I was young. I don't do this anymore. I've grown out of this, but I'm just like, oh girl, I had to learn how to better communicate myself, because I definitely feel when I get into a situation that it's my job to set the structure, set the tone, set the backbone of what's going on. Also, just when it comes to my personal life, I definitely know that I've dealt with a lot of obstacles and a lot of, I've had friends who are ones. And just in contrast, the fact that they've been able to just sort of slingshot through things while I am learning obstacles as sort of my purpose in life, it's very interesting to me. That duality is very interesting. But yeah, so that's a 4. Okay, so next up we have 5s. 5s are all about adventure, freedom, specifically sexual expression. 5s are about travel. 5s are very much like variety is the spice of life. Those are your 5s. They thrive on change and movement and a little bit of chaos. 5s can come off as kind of chaotic, but those are your 5s.
All right, so I know y'all see Queen Bee there on that Life Path 5 slide, and anybody who is a fan of hers might be confused, because if you know one thing about Bee, you know that she loves the number 4. But see, here's the thing. Even though she was born on the 4th date of the month, and her husband was born on the 4th date of the month, and they got married on the 4th date of a month, Beyonce's life path is actually a 5. And when you look at her history as an artist and how she presents herself, very aggressive, very high energy, very sexual. You think about the music she makes, the impact that she's had on the world. It's very 5 energy. And I love the fact that she is so familiar with the number 4, though, because if you look at what the number 4 represents, that hard work, that endurance, that ability to like outlast and like keep building long before other people have given up. Long after other people have given up. That's definitely Beyonce as well. And just as you have a number that governs your whole life, all the numbers related to you matter. So the date you were born on also factors into the energy that will take place in your life. So she was born on the 4th of the month. And as such, she still gets that 4 energy. But overall, her overall life path energy and her overall purpose on this earth is to bring that sense of expression, that sense of almost chaotic womanhood, and spread it across the world, and to seek adventure and to sort of open all of our eyes and like thrill us. And that's exactly what she does.
All right, 6s. 6 is the number of domestic matters. Okay, so sixes are the ones who, if I ever look at a person and they've had a lot of long-term relationships, or they easily like attract long-term relationships, I'll do the math. And a lot of times they are a life path 6. So lots of long-term relationships. That's kind of a sixes vibe, very nurturing. Sixes make great teachers. Sixes are your people who are also going to sometimes be the backbone of a family. They're going to easily attract lots of people who need a family figure. My mother is a 6. And I mean, there was a time in our life where we always had somebody coming around who needed a mom figure, and that was her. And so, yeah, so that's like the energy of a 6. 6 can also be the energy of domestic disruption. And so a lot of times, like if you are in a year 6, which I'm going to talk about personal years next, but if you're in a year 6, you might experience divorce, you might experience breakups. But for the most part, the 6 is the number of domestic harmony and tranquility and matters of the home. All right, next up we have number 7. So numerologically, a 7 life path means that your job in your time on this earth is to collect wisdom. 7s are your seekers of knowledge. They are going to be the most patient because they're constantly just asking questions and treating life as something that they have to just kind of comb through to get to the truth of the matter. My dad is a 7, and the conversations that this man has, they are far-reaching and they are multifaceted. 7s are definitely your wisdom seekers. 8 is the number of power. It is an extremely powerful number. 8 is the number of enterprise. It is the number of money. It is the number of financial gain. It is the number of social wealth. So like I talked about 3s being like, the busybodies and being super friendly and, kind of all over the place and very easy. They attract friends but 8s attract wealth. So like while a 3 might attract, hey, I have 18 friends. 8 attracts 18 investors, if that makes sense. So people that are 8s are normally known for being extremely, extremely wealthy, or that have that somewhere in their numerological profile, because you have actually a couple different numbers that can apply to you at any time. Anyway, those people are usually 8s. And finally, the last number, last but not least, is the number 9. So in numerology, 9 is the number of endings. It is the number of universal love. It is the number of humanitarianism. People that are life path 9s are usually extremely non-materialistic. I always laugh at the fact that they're really, really not concerned with material gain, but they tend to be extremely, extremely lucky. They're the type of people that resources flow to and flow away from and flow back to again. So if you're a life path 9, then that's probably something that you will experience. How do you figure out your life path number? It's very simple. I will put a little equation here up on the screen, but basically it's just your birthday, and then you add up all the different numbers together, the month you were born, the day you were born, and your year, and you keep reducing it all the way until it gets to a single digit. Unless you have a master number, which is like you add everything up and you get a 22, 44, 33, or 11. And all that means is that your energy in life is going to be double what that single number is. So that's how you get your life path. So now let's take that information and what we know about the numbers and the energy of the numbers, and let's apply that to the year. So first I want to say we all have a universal number, and that's just what the number, the numerological number of the year that we're currently in boils down to. So for example, this year is 2022. That's a universal number 6. And so I talked about what the number 6 means. And so universally, like on a whole world scale, that's kind of going to be the vibe of this year. And if you go back to like 2020, remember what I was saying about obstacles, hard work, laying new foundations, right? You think about 2020 and think about everything that had to be done with a vaccine, everything that had to be done with figuring out different ways to learn, different ways to work. It was a lot of hard work. It was very isolating. You think about 2021, people were like, I got to get out. I got to be chaotic. I got to travel. I got to try new things. Very 5 energy, right? I got to explore. I've been locked up. It's time for me to release and to get out and to do what I need to do. I think in that way, you can kind of see how the universal number of the year sort of disperses its energy throughout all of our personal realities, regardless of what our personal year number is. But your personal year number is basically just your birthday added to that universal year number. So for me, my birthday is in March. And so I'm every year, because of how my birthday adds up, I have the same personal year as the universal year. So that's something that is always a little bit easier for me to sort of calculate. I just say, okay, well, what year is the world having? Well, then that's kind of the year that I'm going to have. So why does this interest me at all? I'm 15 minutes into this thing. Why do I even care? Why do I use numerology? Why do I think it's valid? Why am I sharing it with you? So let's talk about why it interests me. So I got to take you guys back about 15 years and I'm going to try and keep this short because I only want this video to be about 20 minutes long. I'm going to take you back about 15 years to the year 2007. I was graduating college and I was having an extremely hard time. And mostly because it just seemed like the life that I had thought that I was being prepared for, everything was changing and everything was ending. And doors were closing, but at the same time, new doors were opening. And I was really being asked to shift and to pivot in ways that I hadn't been asked to do before. I was very confused. I was kind of heartbroken by it. And I sort of, was just doing the best I can to cope with this.
So really quickly, there's something that I did not mention earlier, and that is that one number in the numbers 1 through 9 does absolutely not line up with the life path number. So like if you have this life path, it doesn't mean that you'll have the same energy for your personal year. I mean, you could, but there's a bigger message there. So I'm talking about the number 9. So I talked about the number 9 life path and how it's like universal love, the number of the humanitarian, non-materialistic, lucky, like very, very lucky people. The number 9, though, if you're going through a personal year 9, is all about the ending of a cycle. And when you think about it, 9 is the last number on the numerology chart. Astrologically speaking, 9 is the number that we associate with Pisces. So it's the last number. It is wrapping everything up. It's wrapping up a cycle. And during your 9 personal year, that's the energy that really sort of takes over your year. It's all about finishing, graduating, coming to the finish line, processes being done, doors being closed. You're being asked to take a different direction, or you're being asked to ready yourself to start a new adventure, a new decade of your life, a new stage of your life that's going to start in a year 1. And so what I'm describing right here is 2007 was that year for me. I was in a year 9 and I didn't know it yet. I didn't understand the energy. I didn't understand why, instead of open doors, I was seeing locked doors. I was seeing, whatever. And it wasn't until I discovered this is something that makes sense and applies to this situation that it all sort of made sense. So I do want to say that I was in a year 9 here. And since I didn't really describe a year 9 earlier, I wanted to take time to do it now.
When I say doors were being closed, I had spent 3 or 4 years in college, really, really working hard, editing all the time, making videos, submitting things. I had won awards, scholarships, and I was getting ready to graduate and I didn't have any plans. I didn't really know where I was going to work. I tried to do an internship that didn't work out for various reasons. I was having some hard trouble financially. I was having some hard trouble emotionally. I didn't feel like I was springboarding into life. It kind of felt like I was being asked to sit back and to just wait and watch and to just close certain doors. During this time of my life, I made a really, really good friend, and we seemed to be going through the same thing, but in different ways. So while I was kind of just like really, really focusing on endings that year, she was trying to figure out, how do I begin? She had graduated, I think, the spring before me, or the winter before me. She had gone to graduate school, dropped out, come back to where she was living at the time. She thought to herself, okay, well, I'll try and work in education. I don't really know if this is what I want to do, but we'll try. She had also contemplated moving to LA. So she was really going through a lot. I was going through a lot, and we really kind of bonded with that. Also, I want to say that one of the reasons why we bonded so much was because me and her were both raised in extremely Christian households, very, very much so, like save yourself for marriage. And here we were, 23, 24 years old, extremely single, never been on a date, never even had a kiss. We were so sexually frustrated. We were so emotionally frustrated. We were so confused. And we really bonded together. We had like heartbreaks and crushes and things happen, and we confided in each other in ways that we really couldn't confide to other people. So I'll always be grateful for our friendship, even though it was extremely short-lived, because the next year, 2008, the vibe changed. I had in 2007, I had, finally decided, okay, well, I can't work in production. That does not seem to be where my life is taking me. The only jobs that are available that want to call me back are working with kids. I got a job teaching and didn't even really have to try. So, okay, I guess this is what I'll do. She, in 2007, had started working with a school as a sub, went in and took on a full-time job as a teacher, was loving it. I was having a great time. But most importantly, in January of 2008, she went from, I can't find a date, nobody wants to talk to me, I don't know, I'm just so miserable, why has the Lord forsaken me? Her phone was on fire. People were hitting her up all the time. And what was so crazy to me was she specifically didn't do anything differently. I mean, yeah, her attitude eventually changed about herself. Her confidence level went up. But as far as where that energy came from, it was like with a new year, the door opened to new realities. People that she had known her whole life all of a sudden were like, hey, I remember you're single. I have a friend who, they had never told her about this friend before, but all of a sudden here comes dude. She had gone to the same bar she had always gone to, and all of a sudden now she was being looked at. Now she was being approached. It got to the point where we all got together to celebrate my friend's birthday. And this was a girl who used to sit at the bar with me, and we would just laugh and look at other people, getting talked to and flirted with. We couldn't find that girl all night. She's over at the bar. She's making out with people. What? Total change in energy, total change in reality. And it was such a big change that I was like, there's got to be something more to this. And so I just happened to stumble upon numerology. And basically what I figured out was she was in a year 3, personal year 3, new social realities, new people coming in, very, very busy energy, very new possibilities for creating experiences. I, on the other hand, was in a year 1. Now my new path was set. I moved back to Houston from my college town. I started my first job as a teacher. Just different things happened. Our paths that had been, running kind of concurrently eventually diverged. And I started noticing this with other people too, how from one year to the next, just different energy, different possibilities, new things were possible because they were in a different personal year. Now you may say, nah, and that's fine. But what I would ask you to do is, now that you know how to calculate your personal year, and now that you know what numerology is, if you didn't know what it was before, look back at your life. Look back at things that have happened to you. Look back at the rhythm of kind of what was going on and see for yourself. Was it more different here than it was here? Was this the same energy as this year? I guarantee you, if you do that, you might find a change. And the change can be significant or the change can be minor. But I find that when people really sit back and look, there's always like a difference that they can see. I think that this is important because I always want to mark. It's kind of like as I go through my life, I never got over marking the little notches on the wall. I don't know if you guys did that when you were growing up. Your parents, have a line on the wall for how you're growing. And every year, you mark where you are. For me, I do that every year with my life. Like, okay, well, where was your energy this year? How are you developing? How are you growing? What can we expect? It's like I have a little meeting with myself every year. And for me, numerology is kind of like that last little step in the meeting. Okay, well, before we go too far, before you think too much, you're going into a year 7, right? So it's going to be a year of contemplation, of seeking resources, of gathering information, of gaining wisdom. But you got to wait till year 8 to really pop off. So just keep that in mind. Hey, you're going through a year 9, right? So don't be surprised when you have to say goodbye. Don't be surprised when doors close. Don't be surprised when you walk through and things change, relationships end. Or on the other hand, don't be surprised when you finally get to graduate, when you finally reach that goal, because both of those are endings and beginnings, right? For me, it's just a helpful tool, especially in a time where everything is so, I mean, these are chaotic times. Nobody expected in 2022 for us to still be in this situation as a world. You know, this is wild. So for me, it's just one of those little security blanket things that I do that help me forecast, you know, what might come. So I wanted to share that little trick with you. If you already knew about it, because it's not new at all. It's literally ages old, then whatever. If you didn't know about it, I'm telling you about it here. But if it's new to you, I hope that it does help you in some way, just gain a little bit more insight into yourself and into what's going on in the world around you. And as always, thanks for watching.